What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about Metaphor ReFantazio because I just had a chance to play about 3 hours of the game itself, and to be honest, it's kind of blowing my mind. This is a new project by Atlus and a lot of the people behind the Persona series that I already loved, and recently, Sega reached out to me and said, do you want to come try the game out, come to New York, play it, and if it doesn't blow your mind, you don't have to make a video or anything like that, but honestly, yeah, this is a very unique, very strange RPG that I feel like everybody is about to be talking about, but let's discuss. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could please, give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, if you've ever played any of the Persona games, I'm sure this is going to look incredibly familiar, but with a very fantasy coat of paint, very Lord of the Rings, lots of interesting magic and mystery, and a lot of just cool background ambiance, including wild monsters and cool kingdoms like that. But I think the element of this that's completely just hooked my imagination is the weirdness of it. And what I mean by that is that in Metaphor ReFantazio, this game is definitely based on the feeling of anxiety. Now, each of the different Atlus projects, there's typically a vibe they're trying to match. Very jazzy or fun or murderous or whatever like that. Well, they straight up said the theme for this is anxiety. It's creepiness. It's that background creepy feeling in your back that things are about to go very awry. So we're playing as this main character, the protagonist, and his goal is to try and essentially save the kingdom. The king has recently died. It seems like somebody is about to take over the kingdom. So you're trying to do this big, vague, incredibly difficult quest to save the kingdom and not die in the process. But what's cool is that as you're playing this, it's definitely a very classic style of RPG. The turn-based combat is incredibly freaking addictive. I had a chance to go through about 4 dungeons, and all of them were incredibly fun, but the way it works is this special weakness system. Now, this has existed in other things done by Atlus in the past, but the way it kind of works is that if you hit an enemy's weakness type, like an ice monster and you're using fire, instead of using your turn, it uses a half turn. So when you're playing as a full party, if you figure out the weakness of a particular monster, whether it is slashing or special attacks or unleashing something of a particular elemental focus, it feels cool to keep stacking up that damage and actually making it so every turn is much more ruthless. But there's an extra part of this that I think is rather genius, which is that as you level up, while you're exploring these different dungeons, you can initiate combat. I played this on Xbox. Whenever you press the X button, you can sneak up and attack opponents before the actual battle begins. Now, when you do this, it builds up sort of a stagger gauge. If you manage to max out that stagger gauge before the fight begins, essentially like hitting them before they notice you, you could do an initiative attack. You can not only start the battle first, but a lot of times do a free critical strike, which against some of these tougher foes is incredibly nice. But there's actually an extra part of this that's cool. As you level up, you can scan the environment and see what level stuff is. If something is way weaker than it, you can use these basic X attacks to skip combat. You can straight up, instead of just doing hundreds and hundreds of random battles against level 1 enemies or people that are just way beneath you, you can fast forward through it, which means exploring dungeons feels more rewarding. Taking the wrong path on purpose to find cool extra gear or little extra puzzles and stuff like that, it feels much more encouraged. But the best part about this game is honestly the monster design and the mystery to it. So I met up with some friends and we all did the event together. It's my friend Lady Pelvic and Super Derek RPGs. We all showed up there. We all played the game, and the part of it, as soon as this demo was done and we left the place, we went and got dinner, and for about 4 hours we ended up just talking about what we think this mystery means, which is the humans. So in this world, a lot of these big, weird beasties, like this thing on the screen here, This is called a human. Now, I have no idea why. I don't quite understand it, but there's definitely something very spooky and amiss about this story that is honestly just so intriguing. Now, throughout the course of ReFantazio, there are different races. There's people you encounter that have horns or pointed ears or features that make them like the different castes of society. People are ranked according to these different weird features of their body. Well, we are an Elda. We're an extremely rare, nearly extinct people that look very close to what we would consider to be a regular person, right? Well, as you join the army and go on missions and stuff like that, the big bad, the thing you're afraid to encounter the most, are these humans, these weird, super messed up monsters that a lot of times do have human faces. There's also some sort of extra element where your character talks about reading this magical book that your buddy the prince had, and whenever you read it, it talks about the real world. They talk about safe streets and no darkness and lanterns that light up the entire city. Like, something about this, there is some weird extra layer to the game that has me so deeply intrigued because I have no idea why we're fighting these things called humans. I have no idea where the humans are coming from, but something about this is definitely very, very messed up, and I cannot wait to figure out more. I gotta be honest, this reminds me of Final Fantasy IX. Now, let me explain. So, I love all the Final Fantasy games, but I've always thought that FF9 has a different vibe because it's very beautiful, but is incredibly bleak. If you've ever played FF9, it's a game that actually is about war and interdimensional beings and all sorts of very bad chaos. This sort of reminds me of that, where it is incredibly beautiful. It's great art. It's got this cool orchestral vocal tracks. The music completely melted my brain, but at the same time, the story itself is incredibly freaking dark. I am already incredibly addicted to it, especially because I've barely scratched the surface of it. If you've played anything by this, people, like anything Atlas related, like 3 hours is barely anything. I mean, Persona 5 Real is like 250 hours to actually platinum it. So playing 3 hours of it is practically the introduction of it. But there is this system called archetypes that I barely got a chance to try, but these are like, it's like a combination of skill trees and talent systems. As you make friends and form bonds the way you do in other Atlas games, by going on quests, by teaming up with people, by entrusting them, you build up these special social links that give you access to their abilities. Befriending a warrior may give you extra talent tree options to give you more defense, more offense, more special stats offensively and protection-wise. Like, these archetypes, I've only had a chance to unlock like 4 of them. These are going to essentially give you different abilities, different depths, different stuff to make it so that your playthrough can actually level up in a totally different way from my playthrough. Metaphor ReFantazio, I'll be honest, even after 3 hours, I don't really know what's going on, but I think that's the most intriguing part about it. Something about this is deeply weird, and I cannot wait to play more and actually figure it out. Holy heck. Man, I cannot believe that this team, Studio Zero, just keeps cranking out the most strange, addictive, amazing stuff. I'm just going to say this, if you're not paying attention to it, now is the time. They've posted like 40 minutes of gameplay already. Go click through that. This is coming to PC, to Xbox, to PlayStation 5. I had a chance to play it on the Xbox, but man, if you're not paying attention to this game, now is the time. My off-the-cuff thoughts here is that my first impression is extremely positive, and I haven't even had a chance to dive deep into all the 50 billion different systems I'm sure we're going to see, but initial thoughts, heck yes. And thank you to Sega for having me come play it, because I wasn't paying attention to it before, but I definitely am now. So what do you guys think about this? Are you excited for Metaphor ReFantazio? Do you even know what it is? Well, now you do. So be sure to give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to keep dreaming. Also, I'm not sure, I haven't seen their videos yet, but my friends, Lady Pelvic and Super Derek RPGs, they were there. They're also making videos. Go look at their channels. I never really shout people out, but they're really, really good classic RPG people. I'm huge fans of them. I haven't seen their videos yet. As soon as I'm done making this video, I'm going to go watch their videos because I'm curious what they think about it, because it seemed like we were all completely mind melted by how freaking good this was and how deep that mystery just exists. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.